So maybe we have to begin with that poem. I think it was trying to introduce me. My name is Reverend Jeffrey Mingle, and I'm at Quayman Ebenezer as a minister there. So I'll be taking you through the English language part of the journal paper. I guess you cannot hear me and see me.
Yes, please, Papa. I
Papa,
can
we
hear
hear you.
you.
Okay. So we will look at the English component of the exams as we prepare. I always tell people that the English language part of the the exams is very crucial and very important because when it comes to Old Testament, when it comes to New Testament, uh, we are almost even there. We are almost even there. And in a way, this exam is more of a competition because they will select the best people who score the highest marks for the interview. So it's important that you strategize to be able to score as much marks as possible to make it for the interview. Well, usually they will select a minimum number of people for the interview for five or 2 weeks. So it's important that you understand some of the dynamics in this entrance exams. And one thing I always tell people is that when it comes to the Old Testament, we are almost all there. When it comes to New Testament, we can all score equal marks. But when it comes to English, that is where the differences really shows clearly, the English and then maybe the maths. So what I always encourage people is that you do your best to prepare well for the English as well, because that is what will help you and separate you from the others when it comes to scoring higher marks. Like I said, even though it's an entrance exams, it is competition based. So the higher score you get, the closer you are to being candidated by the church. So it's important that you take the English seriously and score a lot of marks, even not below 90% actually, not below 90%, because that will give you more marks and give you an edge over the others. So it's important that you take note of that. And when I was going to write my entrance exam, that is what I did, because I realized that almost everybody will do well in the Old Testament, will do well in the New Testament. But where people have challenge is the English language.
Also, for Mama introduce you when you cry.
Ola ni kate yentina.
So continue. Mami mo abaso kakre na akontawa akupe.
Oh, wow.
So anyway, so if you have Reverend Mingle with you, he's my brother-in-law. He left to pay some few things. Papa de be a medal. So you once you have started, continue. Yes. Yes. Okay. Although, how many years did you use to search for the treasure?
So that's all you could say.
That's for your sign.
Okay, people, let's continue.
Bye-bye. Please.
So I was saying that when I was preparing for my entrance, I realized that people prepare very well for the Old Testament and for the New Testament. And fortunately for us, we are already ministers in the making. So we are well versed in the OT and the NT already. But where I realized the difference could be made was the English language part of the whole entrance exams. So I really prepared well for the English. And I've not seen my paper, but I won't be surprised if I scored above 90%. And because of that, I was able to make it to the first day of the interview. Usually, if you go on the first day of the interview, you should know that your chances of being candidated is very high, unless if you for Edomujimu. So when you go the first day, second day of interview, you should know that you are likely to be candidated. And what can make the difference for you is when it comes to the general paper like the English and the general paper. So let's take note of this and strategize very well, that God will also help us in that regard. So we want to start with one component of the English language that I believe is very, very important when it comes to the entrance exams, and that has to do with essay writing. Essay writing. Please, can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, please, I can hear you, Papa.
Okay. So we want to look at today. We want to look at essay writing. Please let me know if you can see my screen. If you can see my screen, let me know. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, please. Yes, please, Papa.
Okay.
I can see.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah. So it's important that we take this very serious and prepare well accordingly. Now, essay writing is one of the high scoring marks when it comes to the English language. It's not difficult, but if you understand the dynamics of the essay writing, it will help you to score higher marks there. And I believe that we are all graduates, so at least in one way or the other, we have written one form of essay and one form of essay in our lives, in school, after school, and even in our workplaces, and even ministry, even in preparing our sermons on Sundays to teach and to preach. So we want to look at essay writing as part of our session for this week. Now, what is essay writing? Usually, they are short pieces of writing that often require the student to have a number of skills. A number of skills such as close reading, analysis, comparison or contrast, persuasion, conciseness, clarity, and exposition. Usually, the essay comes in various forms, and it is expected that when you are writing, you do a close reading of the question to be able to know what you want to write about. Also, it's important that you are able to analyze whatever subject or topics you have been given to work on. So your analysis is very important to be able to and open up the issue and analyze it critically so that the reader or the examiner will understand it. Then sometimes you're also called upon to make a comparison or to make a contrast between two opposing views or issues. And sometimes to be called upon to be persuasive in your writing. And more importantly, your conciseness. Even though you be asked to write on a particular topic or subject, it's important that you don't speak too much, you don't talk too much, but you go straight to the point, convincingly, persuasively, with a lot of clarity, so that the moment the person reads the first 2-3 lines, he's convinced about wherever you are heading to. And he can even skip the rest because he knows that you understand the subject and the topic you are writing about, and you easily score your marks. And also, from what I've mentioned above, you can also see a list of attributes, and there's so much to be gained by the student who strive to succeed at this essay writing. It's important that you take note of these as we move along. Now, the purpose of an essay is to encourage students to develop ideas and concepts in their writing. So the reason why you are being asked to write an essay is to be able to elicit ideas and concepts from you, and for us to understand, for us to appreciate how well you understand the concepts, the topics, and the subjects that are being raised. So you're able to know also how you are able to develop your thoughts, develop your ideas. But in all this, you should understand that the conciseness is still there. You don't have to talk too much. You should be able to explain a concept or a subject in a concise manner and develop your thoughts. Develop your thoughts according to some order. We will look at it later in our sessions when we get there. Also, it may be helpful to view the essay as the converse of a research paper. So it is quite close to a research paper in the sense that you are allowed to analyze issues, you are allowed to pull up evidence to make arguments. You are allowed to pull up issues from the past to make inferences and references from. So it's very close to a research paper. So it's important that you understand this concept. So therefore, the essays by nature are concise and they require clarity in purpose and direction. This means that there's no room for the student's thoughts to wander or stray from his or her purpose. So the writing must be deliberate and interesting. There is no time for you to really stray because there are a lot of papers to be marked by the examiners and they don't have time to ask themselves, what are you talking about? And what do you mean? Where are you going? They don't have the time to do that. The moment you stray from the first 2-3 lines, that is the end. So there's no time to stray your thoughts, to beat around the bush and not going straight to the point, because there's no time to really spend time marking only your paper. And there are a lot of them, and there's no time to do that. So you should be able to be concise, show clarity, show develop thoughts, and go straight to the point so that the examiner can move on. So usually you shouldn't spend more than 3, 4, 5 lines on a particular major point when you are developing an essay. Now let's look at the type of essays that we will discuss maybe today and maybe tomorrow and tomorrow next. So one important thing that you must be able to understand before you attempt any essay question is to define the type of essay that you are going to write. The moment you are able to appreciate and discern the type of essay the question is requiring from you, you are almost through. It's unlikely for you to deviate because you have understood the type of essay that you want to write. And usually in the past years and by convention and even in English language parlance, you realize that there are 4 main categories of essays that you usually write. We have the narrative essay, we have the persuasive or the argumentative essay, we have the expository essay, and we also have the descriptive essay. These are the 4 major types of essays that we have. Please, do you have any idea of these type of essays? Hello?
Hello, Papa.
Hello, Papa.
Any idea of this type of? I guess you are familiar with these 4 major types.
Yes, Papa, please.
You are?
Yeah.
Yes, please, Papa.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. That's
Yes,
good.
please.
It means that you are current. Move your screen chair. Then we also have other types of essays like the compare and the contrast, which is also close to the argumentative or persuasive essay. Then we have the problem solution essay. Then we have the informative essay. So these are basically the type of essays that you may encounter in your entrance exams as you prepare for SMT or for Trinity. Today we'll try and look at the narrative essay and the persuasive essay. Then we'll do a short exercise to see if we appreciate the discussion that we will have. Now, let's look at the narrative essay. So when writing a narrative essay, one might think of it as telling a story, telling a story or an occurrence, or maybe like being a witness to maybe something that has happened, and you are giving a narrative of what you saw, a narrative of what you read, a narrative of what you have seen. So these essays are often anecdotal, they are experiential and personal. So they allow students to express themselves in a creative and quite often moving way. So you are given the chance to express yourself in a very creative and moving way. And one good thing about this type of essay is that you are able to easily convince the examiner, because you use your creative writing and your convincing writing to move the examiner what he or she is reading. So this means that you must include an introduction, a plot, the characters, the setting, the climax, and the conclusion when you are writing a narrative essay. We'll look at these parts of the essay later when we move along. So that is the narrative essay. So you are given the freedom to choose a style on your own, to convince the reader, to be creative, to start anywhere that you want to start without any restriction. And that is the purpose of the narrative essay. So you give a narration of whatever thing that you are being asked to do. Now let's look at some of the examples of a narrative essay that we have written in the past year. It says, give an account of the temptation of Jesus by Satan according to the Synoptic Gospels. Give an account of the temptation of Jesus by Satan according to the Synoptic Gospels. Who can help us here? If this is a narrative essay, who can help us here? How do you understand this particular question? You are being asked to give an account. Anybody want to try? What is the expectation from the examiner or the question? Yeah, Mr. Ofori, you want to talk?
Okay, Papa. Yes, please.
Okay.
Yeah, Papa, what the examiner is expecting from us is what happened. I heard you saying that narration deals with what maybe you have seen and you are giving an account of it, but this one we didn't see it, but we have heard.
Yeah.
So we are telling what we have heard or read about the temptation of Jesus Christ. So how did it happen? When did it happen? So I think the how and then the when will help us to do something.
Okay. Any addition from any addition? Any addition from any other person? So you realize that the question ended with Synoptic Gospels, which means that the focus was not on only one book. Please, are you following me? Hello, are you following me? So you realize that
Yes,
saying that
please.
even though you are asked to give an account of the temptation of Jesus by Satan, according to the Synoptic Gospels, so not only Matthew, not only Mark, not only John, not only Luke, so in totality, all the Synoptic Gospels. So you should be able to couch your narrative such that you'll be able to touch on the different accounts that each of these books gave. Because, sometimes when you read Matthew might ignore certain things, but Luke will also include it. Then John will add up, and maybe Mark will be very concise. So when you are giving the account, you have to make sure that you understand what each synoptic gospel narrative is, so that you'll be able to put it together. So when you are giving this narrative, you have to make sure that you make references to the synoptic gospels. You make references to them. You don't just give a straight account that Jesus was fasting, and when he went to the wilderness, whatever, by the Spirit to the wilderness, when he got there, he was fasting, and devil came to him, blah, 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 then you are done. You might not get the full marks. Okay, he was how was Jesus led to the wilderness to do the fasting? In one account, when he was baptized by John. The other, how was it? So you have to make sure that you make references to the accounts in each of the books as you develop the narrative. So that the examiner will appreciate the fact that you are not only giving an account of the temptation of Jesus by Satan, but you are doing it according to references to all the books that the question is demanding you from. Please, is it clear?
Yes, please.
Then the second question has the second question has to do with what are the immediate and remote causes of the rise and fall of the United Kingdom. the immediate and remote causes of the rise and fall of the United Kingdom. Anybody want to try this one too? Anyone willing to try? The United Kingdom. Or maybe how many kingdom no. So this question, you know, if you look at the key words in the question, it says, what are the immediate and remote? So you might understand the word immediate and the word remote to be able to develop the causes of the rise and fall of the United Kingdom. So it means that it is not only one account you are going to look at. You're not going to look at the account of only maybe Rehoboam. Rehoboam's issue was the immediate one, if you know that story. But you realize that before Rehoboam came, Solomon was there. And Solomon made some mistakes because of his affiliation with women of other tribes who brought their gods and caused Solomon to commit idolatry with them. And then the prophecy came that because of all this disobedience, and because the prophecy from David, the kingdom will not be taken away from him, from Solomon, but his child will lose some part of the kingdom. But one will remain because of the covenant God has with the tribe of Judah and David. So you realize that you don't have to start with only one account, but both the immediate cause and the remote causes. Then you put all together to show the rise and fall. So what I said was about the fall. What are the rise? The rise didn't start from Solomon's time. The rise started from David. So you also give the account from David to when where you think that by understanding the rise that may have peaked before the fall happened. I'm sure our session will go off in the next 10 minutes. So when it goes off, you can reconnect. You can reconnect when it goes off. The third question is, what are the achievements and failures of David, Solomon, Rehoboam, and Jeroboam? The achievements and failures. So these are all narratives of the achievements and failures that they experienced. So what did Saul achieve? What were his failures? What did David achieve? What was his failure? What did Solomon achieve? What is his failure? What did Rehoboam achieve? What is his failure? So all these things are given a narrative account of what you have read or what you know from the Holy Scriptures to make the narrative on that. So but you realize that this particular question, it is asking you to do 2 things for about 4 people. So you should be able to structure your essay such that it will not be one boring, it should not be confusing, but it will give you should be creative in the way you develop your essay and the narrative. So when the examiner is reading, he will follow your ideas, will follow the narrative they are giving, and appreciate how you have arranged your major points with regards to the kings. Let me ask you, how will you develop your essay with this the third question? If you have this question coming to you, and you are asked to state the achievements and failures of about 3 kings, how will your essay format be like? Anyone to try? How will your essay format be like? So maybe will you list the achievements first? Then the failures will continue. How will you go about it?
Papa.
Mama?
Hello, Papa.
Yes, Mama.
Yes, please. I will pick them individually. Talk about the achievements and talk about the failures.
Okay. So,
So,
if I understand you, you will pick Saul and
so
talk about his
yes,
achievements. You pick David,
yes.
talk about his
and
achievements.
talk-
You pick
mm,
Solomon. Then when you finish, you come back again and do the
The
failures.
summary.
You do
Yes.
the failures before you conclude.
So, Papa,
Come.
I'll do it alongside. When I pick Saul, I'll do the achievements and failures as well.
Okay.
Then I'll
Okay.
continue with
David.
David. And because it is an essay, it should be in that paragraph where I can have one person's failures and achievements in one. Then I'll continue with the rest in other paragraphs like that.
Okay. So you have the achievement. For example, you have the achievements and failure of David in one paragraph.
Yes, please.
Okay. Then you come to the other person. You come to the other person. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good way. That is a good way to go about. Yes. Yes. Any
Hello,
other?
Papa.
Yes, Mama.
Yes. Yeah, Papa. Me too. I'll go the other way. I'll first of all list the achievements of all of them, stating in the introduction that life is about ups and downs. We all fall and we rise. So let's consider the achievements of the followers of Israel. Then I'll list their achievements. Then I'll go to their failures. After the failure, then I'll draw the conclusion.
Okay. 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 Yeah. So you are all correct. You are all correct. But you know, if I'm marking your paper, I'll prefer the first option that Mama Zila gave us. Because sometimes, you know, if I'm going to read your achievement, by the time I go to your failures, I'm forgetting what you wrote about achievement. Do you get my point? So if you pick Saul, you clear whatever relates to Saul in terms of his achievements and failure. So maybe in the marking scheme, it will be that they'll say, okay, for Saul's achievements and failures, it is 10 marks. For each of them is 10 marks. Maybe there's pressure on the examiner. So if you are going to list all the achievements, then when you finish the achievement for each of them, then you come to their failures for each of them. If you don't take care, I might miss some of the points. But if you pick Saul, and then you give me Saul's achievements and failures, I know that you have cleared Saul, so you get your marks there. You pick David, you give the achievement and failures, then you move on. So you realize that it makes it easier for the examiner as well. He won't go back and forth checking where you have the achievement of David and the failures of David to give it to score you the marks, because you have everything together at one place. So it's important that we look at these dynamics to help us in the way we answer the question. And you know, when you are writing, you must also think for the examiner. You must think for the examiner. You ask yourself, if there's so much pressure on him or her, will you want to check David's achievements and then come and check David's failures at the other side of the essay to check the number of points you read, then you can score the full marks. So if you have everything at one paragraph or one place, it makes it easier for the examiner, and you also get your required marks as well. So these dynamics are very important when we are answering the question. And the fourth one says that the year 2017 marks the 500th anniversary of the Reformation. Briefly recount the events leading to the Reformation and its impact on world Christianity. So this is also a narrative. But you know, in all this, please remember that you don't have to talk too much. I think that when it comes to essays, it shouldn't go beyond three pages. I don't know, but 3 pages, depending on the type of handwriting you have. If you have a smaller handwriting, you should go beyond 3 pages, because you don't have the time to read all this. Fatigue can set in. So brief, concise, creative account, and I believe that it will help you in scoring the required marks. I don't know if there's any question up to this point on the narrative essay before we move on to the argumentative essay. Any question up to this point? Okay, then we'll move on. Now we'll look at the persuasive. Okay, I saw Papa Guma.
Thank you so much, Papa Mingle, for patience. Please, I kindly want to find out, is there no word count attached to it? Word count
No, they don't give word
for
count.
the essays.
They don't give word count. So you have to use your discretion. And that's how I'm saying that always think for the examiner. If you write 4 or 5 pages, do you think you can read everything and give it the required marks? It's not appropriate. So usually around 3 pages maximum is enough, depending on the type of essay that you have. So your point should be concise, straight to the point, and creative. That's all. So you shouldn't go beyond 3 pages. Maximum 3 pages is enough. They won't tell you the number of words. It's quite difficult to even tell the number of words, because if you tell you 200 words, how are you going to, in that pressure, how are you going to calculate and make sure you work within that number of words? Yes, Mr. Kofi.
Yeah, Papa, thank you very much. Yeah, please, about the narrative essay, how would the conclusion be? And do you end with like thanks, or like I want to know the
Depending on the type of question you're answering, it's a summary of whatever you're speaking about in the main body of the essay. So if you're talking about achievement and failures of the kings, a summary of, you can do a summary of whatever you have written in the main body of the essay. And so for this particular question on the achievement and failures, you must use some themes that runs through all of them as your conclusion. So something that runs through the achievements and their failures that are identical to them. So if you summarize all the things that you have said in the body, so you don't give any thanks to anybody. You summarize the main points that you have raised in the main body. When we come to the argumentative essay, it might be a little bit different from the narrative essay. In the argumentative essay, when you get there, you understand it better. I think that our time is almost up, so it will go off very soon. When it goes off, then you will log in, then